I had originally planned to make a big wheeling episode this week, but then something weird happened. Now, I have no doubt that this topic will have been beaten to death in the comment section on Facebook by the time this video comes out, but it is too big of a topic for me to not talk about. But before I dive into the X Games and everything that comes along with that, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida today, where I wasn't even planning on skating, but on the way to the hotel, I spotted this spot. Now, I don't know if you can see it on film, but this thing has definitely seen its fair share of abuse over the years. It's got some pretty decent chunks taken out of it, but I've got a little time before I need to hit the sack and go to New Orleans tomorrow. So let's see if we can have some fun on this thing. Alright, now that spot was far from perfect with, the brick run up and the rounded, chunked out ledge, but man, it was a fun little surprise for being right next to the hotel. I'm gonna have to make sure to come back here because there are spots all over the place down here. This is pretty sick. So in case you missed it and you have no idea what I'm talking about, a few days ago the X Games posted a poll on their YouTube page asking which legacy sport people would like to see return to the X Games. Aggressive inline was one of those options. And now the reaction has been mostly positive from the rollerblading community, but there's been some understandable hesitation from certain parts of the community about us rejoining the X Games. Now, if you're interested in watching a full history on rollerblading's relationship with the X Games, I highly recommend checking out the video Roll Minnesota did on this topic a little while back. He did a ton of research. It's a great watch. I'll leave a link in the description below. And in that video, he addresses a few of the reasons we as rollerbladers hesitate to want to rejoin the X Games. One of those being how we've all internalized the removal of our sport from the X Games as some sort of personal attack on our group. And while yes, skateboarding companies actively worked to put down rollerblading and suppress it so that they could regain market share that we had taken from them, which worked unfortunately well, it wasn't the X Games that decided to do that. I mean, if you think about it, why would they kill a sport that was actively making them money in the past? It doesn't make sense. Instead, they did what any business does, and as our numbers fell, we got replaced with a sport that had better ratings. The same thing happened to a ton of other sports that were originally in the X Games, and they all fell by the wayside as well. Now, the young and immature personalities that were present in rollerblading at that time probably made the decision easier, but like Arlo says in Barely Dead, it's probably true. They do not care about rollerblading. They care about their business. They care about making money, and their business is TV ratings. Alright, today I'm in New Orleans where I grew up, and I'm skating like trash, but there is a huge crew of bladers out here, so do something a little different this week and film the guys out here. Give the New Orleans scene a little bit of shine. And there also seems to be this idea that somehow the X Games owed us because we made it what it is, and that really just one day they decided we weren't cool anymore and they gave us the axe. And honestly, I think we give ourselves a little bit too much credit here. I mean, I grew up watching the X Games, and while Inline was a big part of the first one, skateboarding and especially freestyle motocross has always dominated the airtime at the X Games. But we as a group all have this collective trauma we've dealt with over the years. Growing up not being able to skate certain spots because of what you choose to ride, going to a skate park being called a fruit booter, or much worse. We've all had to deal with a lot of shame and insecurity over the years. Even Ben Schwab and Billy O'Neill got into this on Jump Street recently, where those guys were at the top of the game, skating for the top companies, and even they are hesitant to tell people, oh yeah, I skate. And then even then, after they tell people they skate, you let them assume it's a skateboard, or you don't specify until it becomes an issue, because you don't want to deal with that inevitable conversation of, oh, what's the hardest part about rollerblading? And I mean, I know I've always dealt with that growing up, but it's crazy to see guys at that level that dealt with the same thing. And because of that, going back to the X Games can kind of feel like going back to an abusive relationship. But fortunately, times are changing. Most young skateboarders don't even know about the legacy of hate between rollerblading and skateboarding, or generally don't care anymore. And most rollerbladers are in their 30s or 40s, and when people see you, they just think it's rad that you're still out there keeping the sport alive. So it's okay to be proud of the sport and start being honest about doing it. I know I've started to do it in my normal life more and more, and most of the time people still think I mean skateboarding off the bat, but it's just because they forget that we exist. 99 times out of 100, once I correct them, they think it's rad and they haven't seen anyone do it in forever, and they're super genuinely interested. And that's where being back in the X Games comes in. I know I discovered Inline through the X Games, and I know a lot of other people did. And we've been out of the spotlight so long that people don't even know we exist. And a platform like the X Games can help expose the sport to new members. 30 and 40-year-olds buying skates a couple of times a year is great, but what the sport really needs to survive and to thrive is new members coming in and joining the sport for, another 20 years. Now, we've survived the last 15 years without the X Games, and we do not need them, but it seems like they might need us, which puts us in a unique position to make sure that things are done the way that we want them done. We have a lot more power to negotiate how riders are treated, what they're paid, and the way that the sport is presented, now with another 15 years of history and culture and experience behind us. So I think it's important that if we're presented with an opportunity, we take advantage of it and not let our pride get in the way of maybe getting our top pros a decent paycheck, getting some mainstream exposure, and bringing a younger, newer audience to the sport to help it grow and help it survive. All right, so I'm back in Pittsburgh today, and back at my local park where it looks like there's some interesting stuff set up. So I'm gonna get one last session in, try to get redemption on that full alley-oop top horn, and just play around with the stuff that's set up out here. right, guys, that's going to do it for me this week. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. But I desperately need to clean my bearings, so I'm going to go take care of that. And until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.